Keep yourself in the loop of everything football on the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast. The latest news on and off the field, be it college football, Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, Pac-12, ACC to the NFL. We've got you covered. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
GSMC Football Podcast. I'm your host, Mark Souza, and with me today is Jeff Malinoff.
Have you ever seen a squirrel yawn? It's absolutely adorable.
I have not, but what I did see last night was the Cowboys lose at home, and we'll talk about that. We'll also talk about, in segment 2, we'll talk about Le'Veon Bell and his return, what that means. And do the Steelers actually want him back?
If he even is going to show up, because he hasn't shown up yet. He's still MIA. He did say on he did tweet saying later Miami, which was his home.
We'll also talk about Dez Bryant and the latest on him. Later on in segment 3, we'll do our power rankings, and we'll talk about the playoff picture in the NFC and AFC as it looks like we're maybe getting a little bit clear in the AFC. In the NFC, I'm not so sure, but we'll break it down. We'll talk about the teams who are in, the teams who are out, and the teams that still have an opportunity. And then the last segment, we'll talk about news and notes around the NFL, and news about Bruce Arians that we'll get to. So let's start off right away. Monday Night Football. We saw the Dallas Cowboys. They played their first game of the season with Amari Cooper since the trade. Although it didn't go as planned. It started off as planned as Cooper was involved early and often. He scores a touchdown in the first half. Things seemed to be going well for the Cowboys. The defense was really getting to Mariota, causing fumbles and sacks, and they were playing very, very well. The Titans seemed to struggle early on, finding their rhythm. However, the Cowboys could only capitalize with one touchdown. They had a couple other opportunities in Tennessee's half, could not convert, including an interception by Dak Prescott on a bad decision. He should have thrown it away, but he throws it in the back of the end zone. Catchable pass for the defender. Trying to hit Cooper, but he was double covered. It did not work well for them. So the Titans win 28-14. They looked very impressive.
Jason Garrett claps in disappointment.
Yes, he does. Mariota 21-29 for 240, 2 touchdowns. He was sacked 4 times. No picks. He did fumble. Dion Lewis, most likely your player of the game for Tennessee, 19 carries for 62 yards, but he also chipped in with 60 yards receiving, scored a touchdown. So over 120 total scrimmage yards for him. Corey Davis, 6 catches, 56 yards. And
this was a good day for Dion Lewis, for sure. Mm-hmm. He really stepped up. Like, a lot of people were saying, give him more options, give him the ball more, and they did this game, and it showed why he was a top free agent. He really can be a factor on a team when he's one of the best dual-threat running backs in the league.
And before the Titans went into the bye week, they did talk about establishing Dion Lewis more, so it was no surprise to see him used a lot more often than Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry, he touched the ball 8 times yesterday. Dion Lewis touched the ball 23 times, so decisive difference in that Tennessee backfield. For the Cowboys, Dak Prescott 21-31, 243, 2 touchdowns, a pick, sacked 5 times. He also fumbled. Elliott 17 carries, 61 yards. A subdued game for him. He added 51 in the receiving game, 4 catches, but no touchdowns for Ezekiel Elliott. And Amari Cooper, we talked about him in his debut for Dallas, 5 catches, 58 yards, a touchdown. So, Jeff, what's your overall take from this game?
Well, it shows one team still has a chance to make the playoffs. The other team is done.
You're saying the Cowboys are absolutely
The
done?
Cowboys are absolutely done.
3-5, no chance, huh?
Well, just how they've been playing has been just putrid. It's just been that bad. Like they don't finish games. Like they started off strong with the Amari Cooper touchdown, and then they just went away. It was mind-boggling. The fact of the matter is, you got to worry about like how it's all about the coaching in that situation. You have the talent, you have some talent there. I know you don't have a lot of talent, but you have talent regardless, and that's up to the coach's decisions to make them better. And Jason Garrett's not that kind of coach, and I think that firing him is probably what's best for this team.
The Cowboys' next 5 games are pretty tough. They play the Eagles next Sunday night,
and they did lose, and they might get a top 10 pick, giving it to the Raiders for one player.
Yeah, so the next 5 games for the Cowboys is pretty tough. They play the Eagles next Sunday night. They play the Falcons. They play the Redskins, the Saints, and the Eagles again. So
I can see them losing out.
that's a really, really, really tough stretch, you have to say.
Can you see them losing out yourself?
Absolutely. I think they'll get one of these games, probably once against the Eagles or against the Redskins. I could see it happening.
I know the Eagles are still hunting for a playoff spot, so maybe
yeah, but they've been very inconsistent too. I mean, if we're being honest, Eagles
the NFC East has been inconsistent besides the Redskins.
If we're being honest, Eagles have been slightly better than the Cowboys.
Can we both agree that the Redskins are winning the East?
I got the Eagles.
You still got the Eagles?
Yeah. But the Eagles have been inconsistent, so they're going to have to show.
Can you agree that the Redskins are a great chance of winning the division?
I think they have a good chance, but the Redskins play the
They
Eagles
really showed me
twice.
something. That's why I'm saying that. They really impressed me.
Yeah, but I'm sorry. This last game against the Falcons, they looked terrible. So that's the lasting impression I have of the Redskins. I did not expect them to get beat down like that against a mediocre Falcons team in Washington. So I'm not sold on the Redskins yet. I wouldn't even shock me if they don't make the playoffs. But with that said,
well, it is the Redskins after all.
With that said, they're in a good spot. I could see them making the playoffs. I'm just not too confident at this juncture. So,
juncture.
Yeah. So let's talk about last night. How did you think about Amari Cooper? What did he do that did he impress you?
I liked his touchdown where he had to juke that defender and score off that screen pass, which was basically, in my opinion, just could have been like a running play that he did. But that's how quick he is. But what I'm mainly seeing is maybe he did need a change of scenery, to be a better player, and that's what's going on right now.
Yeah, I mean,
but let's not have one game define his entire season. Let's see how things go.
What I saw last night is I saw a good young receiver, but I also saw overarching. That is, I saw a quarterback that struggled to get him and others the football when players were open. I saw Dak Prescott hold on the ball too long. I saw him take sacks that he shouldn't have taken. I would say that Amari Cooper might be worth that first round pick, but that first round pick is looking real good right now for the Raiders. Raiders
are loving this
as we look at that schedule for the Cowboys upcoming. And if you're the Cowboys, Dak Prescott may not be that guy. I'm not convinced that he's that guy. I know that a lot of people are on the Dak Prescott train. Do you think Dak Prescott is a good quarterback or has a good future in this league?
Well, he did have that 1-13-3 season with the Cowboys at the start, but that's like before people had tape on him and all of this preparation for him. And with the tape on him now, and it just seems like he's not prepared as he used to be. He's not unpredictable as he used to be. He's not maybe a quarterback you want. He may be a good, solid backup, but as a starter, I think he needs to prove himself.
Yeah, I just don't see any progression from him as a pocket passer. We see his athletic abilities, but even with that said, I don't think he's the greatest quarterback moving in the pocket, in and around the pocket. He is fast, of course. He can run. But, we haven't seen him be able to sit in the pocket and go, like, in one consecutive drive, just take the team down the field and just make plays from the pocket, like without the running game dominating or without him making a big play, 1 or 2 plays on the ground. I just don't see. I think when the defenses contain him and they make him throw from the pocket, I just think that he lacks a lot of ability that you need in the NFL.
Yes, he is lacking ability, that's for sure. But you can always improve. Like, he can still improve. He's still a very young quarterback, but I think he needs a couple years as a backup to really improve and get better.
But this is what, year 3 or 4 for him? It's hard to say. Like, I don't know. I don't know how
you wouldn't put him as a backup. You'd still make him a starter.
I don't see how him being a backup quarterback at this stage would help him because he's already played a lot of football games. Maybe this is just it for him. Like, maybe this is just his ceiling, is what I'm saying. Like,
he reached the point. He reached the end.
Well, you mentioned it. You said he did really well initially with the Cowboys when he was new to the league, when maybe teams didn't have, tape on him. They didn't study him. They couldn't study him like they can now. But he's played in a lot of games since then, and he's been underwhelming. I mean, it comes to a point where, yeah, he's a young quarterback, but he's experienced too, Like, he has experience.
Yes, he does have experience, but you need to be unpredictable. You need to change your game plan up a little bit. It feels like his game plan's always been the same, no?
Right. I mean, he's played in 40 career games. I'm just wondering if he can be better, because you mentioned he should probably be the backup, but
I just think he
kind
needs,
of like no point.
He needs to adapt. We should watch the tape on himself and adapt to do something different. Maybe not something completely different, but like change up your game plan just a tad, just to throw people off.
Yeah, I mean, he's throwing the ball at 63%. That's where he's at this year. That's where he was at last year.
Which is not bad.
10 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. It's just, I don't know. It's just, he reminds me a lot of Kaepernick, to be honest with you, in terms of.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
It's a limiting thing. Kaepernick should be a quarterback in the NFL right now, and so should Dak Prescott, but they're also not good quarterbacks, at least good franchise quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
Dak Prescott, the Cowboys need to make a decision on him here in the next few months. Is he our future or not?
That is a very important question.
Future? Or do you think they need to go elsewhere, maybe draft a young quarterback somewhere?
Well, maybe they don't have a first round draft pick to spend, but maybe a third round draft pick. Put some like, some players play better when they have a backup that can easily take their job. No?
Oh, absolutely.
Like, Colin Kaepernick played great when Alex Smith was behind him. And he knew his job was he could lose at any second. He took a team to a Super Bowl. So what I'm saying is maybe they need a guy that says, hey, your job's not safe. You can lose your job at any game now. Play like you mean it. Play like your job's on the line. And maybe he'll play better. Maybe he has to improve to keep his job. Maybe put something on the line for him.
Do you think that's it, though, or do you just think that maybe he's just not a very good quarterback? Like, he's limited?
Well, I'm trying to try other things. If that doesn't work out, then maybe he's a bad quarterback. But I'm just trying to figure out ideas of how to make him better.
Speaking of job security, sounds like Jason Garrett will at least last through the rest of the season, as Jerry Jones says that he will not change coaches mid-season.
Well, people have lied to the press before and done those things. So
that's true. Do you see Jason Garrett lasting the season?
He's got to do something. He's got to get destroyed in like 3 straight games for him to get fired. Like, it's got to be like a blowout in the next 3 games.
Could happen with that schedule, so we'll see. It's possible. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like Jason Garrett, say what you will about him, but Jerry Jones likes him. So I could see him at least giving him the dignity to.
Because he's a puppet. Let's get something straight. He does whatever Jones tells him to do.
He's been a part of the Cowboys organization for like 25 years. I mean, he was a quarterback for them. He was a coordinator for them. Like, he's just. I would say that Jerry Jones, he might not make the best decisions all the time. He might make too many football decisions, actually. But I would be surprised if Jason Garrett didn't finish the season, even if they really, really, really struggle.
I don't think he survives till the next season, though. If he coaches next season, then there's a problem. There's a problem that Jerry Jones is not admitting. No?
Maybe the problem is Jerry Jones.
Well, people have been saying that for a long time also.
Yeah, for about 22 years now. So ever since Jimmy Johnson walked away, I guess. So
And they got a coach that wasn't near the stature.
Yes, man. They got some yes men other than Parcells.
They've gotten, yeah. And then when Parcells didn't work out, he got another yes man.
So, how about the Titans, though? The Titans were very impressive last night. I still have major questions about that offense, but I thought they did enough. And they took advantage of the Cowboys making mistakes last night, especially in the second half. We saw Mariota. I don't think he played particularly great, but Cowboys give him a running lane. He scores a touchdown. Cowboys leave wide open receivers. They score. A couple of those second and third and long plays, they run screen passes, and somehow, some way, they get first downs. What do you think about Mariota? What's your take on him? He reminds me a lot of Dak, to be honest.
It's really hard to tell. Like, I've said this before, like, Heisman winners in the last 20 years have had this, like, especially in quarterbacks mainly, have had this bad luck charm about them that they don't play well in the National Football League. Mm-hmm. And Mariota, I guess you can say, is one of those guys. And he has had some good games in the past, but you can read his mistakes. It'll take longer to read his mistakes than his not mistakes. Mm-hmm. You know, it just, there's a problem there. You gotta adapt. You gotta make sure you're helping the team and not just throwing the ball out there and just running randomly, which sometimes it feels like he's doing. It just seems like he's just winging it, you know?
Yeah, it seems like him and Dak are similar in the fact that they both haven't really progressed. Like, they both have shown flashes, but are we comfortable with them as pocket passers in this league? We know they can make plays with their feet, but you can't win in the NFL unless your quarterback can throw from the pocket. I mean, you can win temporarily, maybe have a good season, but at some point, teams will make you throw from the pocket consistently, and if you can't do it consistently and do it well, your team will struggle. I think we all can agree on that. Would you rather have Mariota or Dak at this point? Who has a bigger future in your opinion?
That's a tough one. That's a really tough one. Can I choose option C and just get a draft pick?
You got to pick one. Who has a better rest of their career? Just pick
Mariota.
One. It's interesting. I'm not sure.
Do you think Dak?
Mariota reminds me of Alex Smith in the way that when they were...
Alex Smith is doing pretty darn well right now.
He's I don't know about that. He's okay. But regardless, he's been a decent NFL quarterback. He's had a decent career. But do you remember when Alex Smith was younger? Alex Smith was very indecisive a lot of times. It's like, dude, just let it go.
Okay, he was on a very bad team, so give him some props.
But even when he was on the Niners on a very good team, it's like, dude, just let it go. Like, play football. Stop overthinking everything. That's Alex Smith. That's Marcus Mariota right now.
Can you also say that's Dak Prescott?
I don't know. I don't think so. I just think Dak Prescott doesn't see the field well, but I think that Mariota second guesses himself all the time. Like, I feel like Dak, it's not a lack of confidence, where I see a lack of confidence in Mariota and with a younger Alex Smith, if that makes sense.
Well, then, if you're saying it like that, then it's only like he just needs some time to, like,
right. I have more faith that Mariota at some point will get the right coaching or the right mentality where he can just, like, hey, it's time to just play. Just let it go. Just wing it. Because I think he plays way too safe to the vest, like way too conservatively. My problem with Mariota, too, is that he's hurt all the time. Mm-hmm. He's hurt all the time. Like, I don't know. It's hard to trust him long term, you know? Like, Dak Prescott at least has been a really sturdy player for the Cowboys. Mariota's always hurt. He's missing games. He's always on the injury report. It's hard to build a franchise around a quarterback that misses a handful of games every year.
Yeah, it is hard to rely on someone that is injury prone like Mariota, granted. But, I mean, sometimes your start of the career is lacking and then you finish strong, and that might be Mariota. He's still a very young quarterback,
absolutely.
So we got to give him some. I feel like we should give him another 2 or 3 years.
It's a long time, though. I don't know if you can do that in the NFL nowadays since he's already had 3, but we'll see. You know how teams are. They're not patient. Quarterbacks don't get
Sometimes
drafted.
you got to be, though. I'm sorry. Sometimes you got to be.
It's just a new age, though. Like, quarterbacks used to get drafted and then sit behind the starter for a couple years now.
Aaron Rodgers, perfect example of that.
And he might be the last one that I can remember. At least, like,
isn't that disappointing?
Now it's like you get drafted, you start. I mean, look, it took Darnold. Darnold was starter from day one. Baker Mayfield started game 3 this year for the Browns.
Okay, there are some instances where, my God, this team is such a bad. This is such a bad quarterback that we need to just see what this kid can do.
Well, I mean, when
like
you draft
with the Packers, they had a Hall of Fame quarterback already in Brett Favre.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm saying is, bad teams should not be starting with thinking the quarterback is the main problem, when in reality you got to build other places and then go to the quarterback.
And I mean, it's just the fact that when you draft a quarterback high in the draft, that usually means that you need a quarterback. Like, Aaron Rodgers wasn't drafted high in the draft. He fell to the Packers in, like, pick 23 or 24, something like that. Mm-hmm. Whereas Mayfield, Darnold, Josh Allen, Rosen, like, those guys are drafted in the top 15. Like, those guys are drafted because their quarterbacks are terrible. So, how about we take a quick break? When we come back, we have some news in the NFL regarding the ex-Cowboys receiver Dez Bryant and also Le'Veon Bell. We'll do that when we return.
Are you looking for help for your fantasy football team? Check out the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. Get today's best advice on who to start, who to sit, even who you should draft. From sleeper picks to red-hot lineups, they got it all covered for you. That's gsmcpodcast.com/fantasy-football-podcast. We'll cover traditional leagues, dynasty, PPR, even IDP leagues. When you need fantasy help, there's just one show to hit up. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit gsmcpodcast.com for more info.
Welcome back to the GSMC Football Podcast. Of course, you can check out the other podcasts on the GSMC Podcast Network. Football, fantasy football, sports, soccer, everything, even non-sports. Check it out. If you're into other things, take a look, see what you like, and give us a listen. So, Jeff, we talked about in the first segment, we talked about the Cowboys and the Titans. The Titans were impressive. Cowboys, not so much. Cowboys, I'm basically saying their season is over. Now, let's move on. Let's move on to their former franchise wide receiver, Dez Bryant. Dez Bryant is working out today with the New Orleans Saints. They're taking a look at him. They have a need.
Do you see need for speed. Sorry.
Well, they have the wrong receiver.
Top Gun reference.
They have the wrong receiver if they have a need
I had
for speed.
to do that. You got me the reference. Come on.
So, let's talk about it. Dez Bryant, do you think he'll sign? Do you think that the Saints will offer him a deal?
Well, this is probably his last chance with the team for this season. That's my guess.
Could there be a better opportunity here for Dez Bryant? He could be going to a team with one loss, a Super Bowl contender, and they have a need at wide receiver.
Well, this is his closest chance to getting to a Super Bowl contender than any other team. So he's got to take advantage of this, and he's got to get on this team, whether way, shape, or form, if he wants to get him in the Super Bowl this year. A chance to be in the Super Bowl at least.
Yeah. You know, it is interesting that Dez, he hasn't been really in the news lately for playing. I don't think he's worked out for any team, at least that I can recall, this season, at least since the season has started. But he's going to work out today with the Saints. Do you think that the Saints could use him, though, based on what they have now at receiver?
Absolutely. He can be a great decoy for Michael Thomas to get open, because now they're going to be like, okay, now we got two big-time receivers to look at, because he's still going to be looked at as a receiver to look at, a receiver to be aware of.
Yeah, and, with Ted Ginn going down, they're a little thin at wide receiver. Cameron Meredith, he signed as a free agent. He has not really panned out. He hasn't really been the impact that they believed when they signed him. And then we see young receiver Traquan Smith, rookie third-round draft pick. He's had flashes of brilliance, but again, he's more of like a speed guy. I think he's the decoy. I think he's the guy that can take the top off the defense. But Dez Bryant, he does provide an interesting option, because if you got Traquan Smith, you got the speed guy. If you got Michael Thomas, he's the all-around, do-it-all franchise receiver. There is an opportunity for a possession-type receiver, considering that Alvin Kamara is also a threat, a speed guy in the passing
This
game.
only boosts them. Let's just be honest.
I do like the dynamic. I'm not a huge Dez Bryant fan. I think that he's well past his prime, but I think that it would be a perfect situation for him to go to a team with a great quarterback, having an MVP caliber season, a Super Bowl contender. It can't get much better than that. I think he wouldn't go to any other Super Bowl contender, because there's not really a need there. I don't think any of the other teams that are really in that conversation would call him, because there really isn't a need. There really is an opportunity. But for the Saints, there is. It is a weird thing. So I am interested to see what happens. Do you expect him to sign a contract in the next 24 hours?
He's going to sign before Thursday.
He's only 30 years old.
If he does get a contract, he's going to sign before Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, you're right that he is kind of old. He's only 30 years old. He was drafted 2010?
Yeah, he's 30 years old. So, all right. So, how about we move on? The Pittsburgh Steelers, they still have a Le'Veon
Yes, he was
problem.
drafted in 2010. I was right.
They still have a Le'Veon problem. Despite some tweets, it sounds like Le'Veon Bell will return, and based on the timeline of when he has to return to have a season accrued in the NFL, everyone's expecting him to be in the building this week, because I don't think he wants to play under the franchise tag for another season if he doesn't report this week. So, do you think he'll be back in the next day or two?
I honestly have no idea. It's so ludicrous what's going on right now, to be honest with you. It's too much. It's too much drama for my blood personally. Mm-hmm. But if he wants to be a free agent, then he's going to be here. But he can also be traded during the offseason.
That's true.
Maybe that's what he's thinking about.
That's true.
That's just my only. If he does not show up for this game, then he's looking to be traded in the offseason. That's what he's looking for.
He's given up about $8 million, but again,
a game. That's right.
Total for the season.
That's $8 million. That's it. Are you sure?
Yeah, because his franchise tender is 14, and he would be making 6 if he returned this week and losing out on 8. Roughly, those are rough numbers, but he would be he's already given up half his pay this year because he's missed more than half the games. So it's based on a per game structure. Anyways, Mike Tomlin, he wasn't about the situation, saying, he had
a very interesting comment about it.
Hostage situation. We don't want to be held hostage. Do you think, though, after the dust clears, after the smoke settles, I think I said that opposite, but
you know what this is kind of like? It's kind of like a parent's getting divorced and the kid doesn't want to go to the other parent. He wants to stay with his current parent.
But do you think that after this is all done, like let's say he reports, do you think it'll all be water under the bridge? Like, do you think that he'll return to the Steelers and that everything will be fine, that everybody will be forgiven and they'll say, hey, we're glad to have you back. Let's go win a Super Bowl?
It's so hard to tell. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what the players are thinking. There are probably some players that are just PO'd. Some players are just get here already. We can figure this out in the offseason. But the bottom line is, who knows what they're thinking?
Right. So, yeah. Let's say he returns in the next couple days. What week would you say that he actually becomes a big part of their offense? Or does he even become a big part of their offense the rest of the season?
Because how well James Conner's been doing, I think he's going to be lying low a little bit for the first couple of weeks. And probably, I'm going to say, let's say week 13. He's going to get back. He's going to get back in the groove of things.
Do you think that they'll just run him into the ground, though, when he's ready? Like, hey, 30 carries a game. Let's go. We're going to get our money's worth for you.
So they're going to just burn him out right away, you're saying? Sure.
I mean,
I wouldn't be surprised.
Exactly. That's kind of where I was getting at. Like, I wouldn't be shocked.
Yeah.
Connor's been looking great, but we know that Le'Veon Bell will get paid by somebody. He's still young. He does have a lot of wear and tear.
He's only 26.
Yeah, he does have a lot of wear and tear, though. I think that's more important than the actual age. He has a lot of carries under his belt, which is a little bit scary for a team that's looking to give him a big deal, 4 or 5 year deal, something like that, a lot of guaranteed money. So Le'Veon Bell, I think usually what happens with our show, Jeff, is that when we leave, then we get news. So
Oh my God! Thank God we're going to talk about that.
We're going to leave, and then hey, Le'Veon
every
Bell
time I leave and I'm in the car driving home, my phone goes off, and
some big
news.
I
have my and I'm like at a stop sign. I'm like, oh, finally I get to read this, and I look at it, and I'm like, are you kidding me? Why couldn't this happen like an hour ago when we're doing our show?
Trade and other trades.
So many Golden Tate trade happened after work.
Demarius.
Like one of us is like one of us edits at the end of this, and every time one of us edits, something happens. Or like as soon as we're done editing and we're driving home, something happens. It's very frustrating at times.
Yep.
So if anyone from the NFL is listening to this, please do your business like an hour earlier, please, just for our sake, so we could talk about it on air. Fortunately, like the Hugh Jackson firing happened during air, and that was a big one. But but we always miss crucial ones. But like. Sometimes by like 20 minutes. One time I finally got in my car, turned on my engine, and then I got an update about a trade.
Yep.
Or a breaking news or something. It's just, come on. Time these better, please.
Yeah, so let's go to a break. When we come back, how about we do our weekly power rankings in NFL, top 5, bottom 5, how we normally do.
Our favorite.
We'll do that, and then in the last segment, talk about some comments by Troy Aikman, talk about Bruce Arians, and maybe me and Jeff will give our college football playoff predictions. We'll see if we have time, but I think we might.
I like it.
So we will be right back.
Check out the show that's built on the MMA. From the UFC to extreme cage fighting, they got the fights covered. Check out the GSMC MMA podcast. Get the latest news on past or upcoming fights. Join us as we talk to and about some of the biggest names in the MMA, past, present, and future. When it's the fight game, there's just one show to check out. GSMCpodcast.com/MMA-podcast. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
Back to the GSMC football podcast. First segment, we talked about the Monday Night Football game and the Cowboys and the Titans. Titans win, of course. Where do the Cowboys go from here? As of right now, Jason Garrett still has a job. We'll see how long that lasts. We just talked about Dez Bryant and his possibility of him joining the New Orleans Saints. We also just talked about Le'Veon Bell and his return. Is it imminent? We'll find out. Most likely we'll have some news in the next few hours. Now we'll move on to our power rankings in the NFL, our top 5, bottom 5 that we do weekly. You want to start off bottom 5 first, Jeff?
Bottom 5 is more fun. We'll start bottom 5.
All right. Who's your 28th ranked team? This would be your 5th worst NFL.
The 49ers.
The 49ers are your 5th worst
Yes.
NFL.
They had a great game against the Raiders, but it was against the Raiders. So you can't put too much on that. They're still using a third-string quarterback. Their defense is still improving, no doubt about it. They have a lot of potential for next year and the years to come. But right now, this team just is not... I don't see them winning another game this season.
I have a sneaky...
I love how the 49ers look for the future. Don't get me wrong on that one. But as of right now... I don't see a future. I don't see a good season ending. I don't see a win.
We'll see the Raiders probably further down on your list.
Oh, yes, we will.
I am interested that you put them there because there might be a team that you have below them that might be needed to be ahead of them. But I will start off with my number 28 team, the Arizona Cardinals.
That's my 29. I'll spoil that. And I'll explain.
No, go ahead. Explain.
I'll explain later. You want to explain yours first?
Well, we're on the subject of Arizona, but I'm interested to know why you have the Niners.
Well, yes, the Niners lost to them twice, granted. But how they play against everyone else is a joke, almost. Like, you can't just describe them as playing one team and then they're better than that team. Yeah, like, you know what I mean? But how the Niners play against other teams, it's close games. When the Cardinals play other teams, it's not close games. Mm-hmm. The Niners compete. The Cardinals really don't.
Yeah. I mean, I understand what you're saying, but they beat them twice. So I have the Niners underneath Arizona. So I have 28, Arizona 29, San Francisco just because I know what you're saying, but Arizona did beat the Niners twice. So with that being said, those are my bottom 2 right now, 28 and 29. Who's your number 30th ranked team?
The Buffalo Bills. I should put them at 31, but I put them at 30.
Well, if Nathan Peterman's the quarterback, then they're last.
He's not their quarterback. Have you seen the GoFundMe page for that?
Yes.
To buy out his contract?
Mm-hmm,
what is it, like $1 million?
It's
something tiny. But if he's their quarterback, then yes, they're number 32. But right now, their defense is playing kind of solid, all things considered. And, there is some, not a lot, but there is some key to this team. If Josh Allen comes back, they're going to rise up. But as right now, I'm putting him at 30. Yeah. Just, if it's Nathan Peterman, you can put 32 on there, too.
I got the Giants at 30. I have the New York Giants at 30. I see what you're saying. I just think that the Giants are a little bit better than Buffalo. I'm not sure that Buffalo's even better than the bottom 2, even with Josh Allen. They certainly are the worst team in the NFL with Nathan Peterman. I can absolutely guarantee that. He throws more touchdown passes to the other team. All right, so who's your 31st team, your second worst team in the NFL?
The New York Giants.
New York Giants, okay.
They had a bye week, so they couldn't possibly lose, could they?
Yeah, I mean, they probably lost. They probably figured out a way to lose.
Eli Manning is why I put them at 31.
I bet Eli was walking around his living room and got sacked.
Probably.
He was like, has a bag of chips.
Would not surprise me.
Get sacked out of nowhere. All right, so your 31 is the Giants?
Yes. Do I need to explain more?
No. My 31 is the Bills. I mean, we just talked about it.
I think I know what our 32 is. I think we're both the same on that one.
Yeah, the Raiders.
Yep.
Their last performance was a disgrace to football.
The lack of effort was appalling. And I don't really say that much. Usually the teams try, they just are not that good. But this team didn't even try.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's obvious that Gruden has lost a team. I think that's more obvious than any other team in the NFL. Maybe some other teams have been lost by their head coach, but this one for sure has. Even Derek Carr doesn't look like he's totally all in. So, yeah, that's our bottom 5. So, again, you had 49ers, Cardinals, Bills, Giants, Raiders. I had Cardinals, Niners, Giants, Bills.
So roughly the same. Just
same
a few,
5.
Yeah, same 5 teams.
All right, so let's go to the top 5 where it's more interesting. We have to start off at number 5. Go ahead.
I got the Houston Texans.
Wow. Houston, they crack your top 5. I think that's the first time you put them up there.
Winning 6 straight, and how well they've been playing in those 6 straight wins. Deshaun Watson's becoming a great the quarterback from last year, like he was before he tore his ACL. DeAndre Hopkins is a beast. Is that any question if he's the top 3 in the NFL? And Demaryius Thomas is just a bonus for this team. And J.J. Watt and Clowney just working together on both sides of the ball. Their secondary is playing even better. Like, this team has a shot.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, I'm interested in seeing the rest of your top 5 because I know you for sure left out at least one really good team.
It was hard. It was hard to leave out some teams. It was very tough.
Yeah, I see what you're saying about Houston. I do like what they're doing. Their arrow is pointing up, but they're not exactly like blowing by teams. Like they just squeaked by Denver. They haven't looked like they've looked good, but I don't know if they've looked top 5 good. If that makes sense. But my number 5 team, the Los Angeles Chargers.
Yeah, that was the team I was debating between them and the Texans. But I had to go with the team with the most momentum, and I went with the Texans.
Yeah, the Texans do have a 6-game win streak. The Chargers, though, have a 5-game win streak. They're right behind.
Well, that's not as high as 5, as 6.
You're right. But I think the Chargers are a better football team. I think they're more balanced. I just can't trust the Houston running game at all at this point.
You mean Lamar Miller?
Yeah, I mean, they can get by against these lesser teams, but I don't see them competing, at least not yet. Maybe Deontay Foreman gives the Texans a spark, but I got the Chargers just because they're a well-rounded team. A really solid win against the Seahawks this week. That arrow is pointing up. They're my number 5. They have the ability to go up, but who's your number 4?
My number 4 is the New England Patriots.
Yeah, they're my number 4 as well.
Just they are getting better. They're still a dominant team. That win against the Packers was a statement. But when it comes to the other top 3 in the NFL, I don't see them as good as them. Even though they beat the Chiefs, granted they beat the Chiefs. If they compete against the Rams or the Saints, spoilers, I think that was not a surprise. I don't see them winning those games.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, it's hard to count out the Patriots, but at this point, I think if we're being fair, I think New England is. I think 4 is. I think that's pretty respectable. I think that's pretty solid. I also have them at 4. They're my number 4 team. They're your number 4 team. Could they be number 1 when it's all said and done? Absolutely. They could definitely be number 1, but if we're just looking at this year, I think they've been the 4th most impressive team to this point. So who's your number 3? Because I think we have the same top 4, but who's your number 3?
My number 3 is the Chiefs.
The Chiefs. Okay. So it looks like it'll be an all-NFC top 2 for you. But tell me why the Chiefs are number 3 and why they've dropped in your rankings, even though they've been winning.
They have been winning. It's not them. It's not them being bad. It's just other teams are getting so much better.
It's not you, it's me, kind of.
Yeah,
thing.
the other teams are just getting so much better. That's
okay.
my take on it. The Chiefs are still doing great. I don't see them slowing down, but I just see some other teams playing so well that I have to put them above them. It's all due respect to the Chiefs. Mm-hmm. They're playing great, but you got NFC's better than the AFC still.
I see what you're saying, but I will say that the Chiefs are just beating everybody right now. I mean, it's not even close. And I think the Chiefs are getting better because their defense is getting better. But we'll see where they land in mine. They're not my number 3 team, by the way. My number 3 team is the Saints. They just beat the Rams. Everybody's freaking out. Why aren't they number 1? Well, they played at home. I expected the Saints to win that game. Does that mean that they're not the number 1 team? No, it doesn't. But what I'm saying is, if they play that game in LA, I think the Rams win. I think both of those teams are very, very close. Close enough for home field advantage makes a big difference. So, with that said, I have the Saints at number 3. Do you have a problem with that, Jeff?
No, not really.
All right, so Saints are my 3. Chiefs are your 3. Who's your 2?
My 2 is, well, you're going to be shocked by my 1, but my 2 is the Rams.
I'm not shocked. So, because the Saints beat the Rams, you have the Saints higher. That's what it looks like. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Did the Saints do enough did they do enough Sunday to make you feel like they could beat the Rams in LA in the playoffs, though?
Yes. It's gonna be an interesting matchup, that's for sure. I think it's between those two teams.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. So my number 2 is the Rams. So our number 2 is the same. I have the Rams 2. I think that they
you had the Chiefs at 1.
I have the Chiefs at 1. Absolutely. I do.
Well, I am not saying for the top 3. It's a close 3.
Mm-hmm.
It's nothing against those. It's not like a landslide. It's close. And
I have the Chiefs 1 because their defense is getting better and better by the week, and if it can be adequate, they have a real chance of winning the Super Bowl. And to be honest, Jeff, the Rams and the Saints don't have good defenses either. You know?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think either one of those 3 has a great defense. But I think what the Chiefs are doing on offense right now is just incredible with Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, and Kareem Hunt. Now, I know what you're going to say, or I know what anybody would say, but the Rams have Gurley. The Rams have Cooks. They do. They have great weapons too. I just like the dynamic approach that the Chiefs have. Now, it might all fail as, Andy Reid's teams tend to fade. But as of right now, they're my number 1 team. That may change as we said, the top 3, the top 4 is super close. So, what do you think?
So you still think the Saints are going to make the Super Bowl? That was your preseason
Saints
prediction.
Are my preseason pick. Saints and Patriots. So
you still think that's going to happen? Or are you going to switch it with the Chiefs now?
I'm not sure. Well, we still have half a season to go, which is the beauty of it all. So there's still more games to kind of see how good the Chiefs defense can be. And if they can maintain, because obviously, what if the Chiefs offense falls off a cliff? I mean, that's not out of the realm of possibility.
You're the one you're on me saying that. I was going to keep saying that's going to happen.
I think it's a 5% chance, but it could happen. Anything can happen.
A 5, that's kind of a low percentage, don't you think?
No, not with Mahomes. They've never done it with Mahomes. So he's just a way more dynamic quarterback than Alex Smith. I don't even think I don't even think it's like, you know what I mean? Like one's like a league average batting second baseman, and the other one is like, I don't know, Mookie Betts. So that's kind of where I see with those players and the difference. Mm-hmm. And I understand that the Chiefs have fallen off a cliff before, but when you have a quarterback who's kind of limited like Alex Smith, it makes it easier to fall off rather than maintain a level. Because let's be honest, they can do a lot of things with Mahomes. He's like Alex Smith on steroids. He can throw the ball 70 yards. He can run. I mean, he's a dynamic weapon.
This is his first full season as a starter. I think he's playing great. No question about it. He can totally take this team to the Super Bowl. But the question is, for me, is more important. This question is more important than anything. When they have tape on him, is he going to adapt and change out his game plan, or is he just going to be done like so many before him?
I think he'll be just fine in this league, and that's because he is accurate. He's an accurate quarterback. He's a very good pocket passer. If it was just his physical skills, I would say that he will most likely not be able to sustain. But what I see from him is somebody who can sit in the pocket and make accurate throws, like the touchdown pass to Travis Kelce against the Browns the other day. A beautiful tight window throw. I mean, yes, it's Travis Kelce, but he put it where that ball needed to be. Great coverage. He makes those plays like that all the time. So that's why I see that he'll sustain. But how about we go to a break and we come back? We have news and notes around the NFL, and also maybe we'll predict the top 4 for the college football playoff as it currently stands.
Dun, dun, dun.
We'll do that right when we come back.
Dun, 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 dun.
Check out the show built around the women of MMA. From the UFC to the extreme cage fighting, we got the fights covered.
Listen.
It's the Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast. The latest news of upcoming fights, discussions of previous matches. Join us as we talk to and about the biggest names in women's mixed martial arts, past, present, and future. When it's the women's fight game, you know where to listen to. The Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast.
And welcome back to the GSMC Football Podcast. This is the last segment of the day. I, again, am Mark Souza with Jeff Malinoff here. We've talked about power rankings, Monday Night Football, the Cowboys. We've talked about Le'Veon Bell, Dez Bryant. Why don't we shift our focus now to the college football season as we look at possible playoff teams? Jeff, how about we look at the top 4 who we see finishing the year? Not right now, because we know who the top 4 are right now. But let's talk about who we see facing in the college football playoff. It doesn't have to be perfect. We're not predicting who the 4 will be, who the 1 will be, who the 2 or the 3. But how about we just give our gut feelings on the top 4 at the end of the year? You want to start?
Absolutely. Actually, no.
I'll start.
I was like, wait a minute. I got to think about this more.
I think Alabama will be there. That's the first team. That
Oh, wow. That's bold move, sir. Bold move.
I don't know, man. They struggled last.
Shut up. Shut up.
All right, so you got Alabama too?
Absolutely. They're going to be number 1.
Okay. Who do you have next?
My number 2 team, you might be surprised by this. Notre Dame.
I am surprised.
Are you?
Yeah, I mean,
I don't see Clemson making it, so I see them moving up to the 2nd seed.
You think Clemson will lose, huh?
I think Clemson will lose.
I don't see Clemson losing. I have Clemson. So you don't have Clemson in the top 4?
No.
Oh, wow.
Because if they lose one of these games, they're done.
Okay. All right. So, who do you have next? I have Clemson. I have Alabama, Clemson. You have Alabama, Notre Dame so far. Who's your next team?
My number 3 is... I almost said Clemson for a second, but I stopped myself. I'm going to put Michigan at number 3.
All right. So you think Michigan will run the table?
Oh, yeah. They're running. They're making the playoffs regardless.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have Notre Dame as my number 3, but I don't feel confident about that. They are a team that usually overachieves, and I think that this year they might be overachieving again. The thing is, though, with their schedule, I don't know if they're going to lose. They don't have a conference, so they don't have a conference championship. So, yeah, that's who I have. So who's your last team? Because this is what's most important here, Jeff. You got Alabama, Notre Dame, and Michigan. Who is your last team?
The return of Georgia as my number 4 team.
So I have to ask you then, how does Georgia get in the top 4 if they lose to Alabama? Or do they beat Alabama and then Alabama's not number 1?
Alabama stays number 1, but I see Georgia I just see them in it. I can't explain it. I just see them in it.
Because I think they're one of the best teams, but it's hard to see their path, like lining up.
It's a tough path. If they do beat Alabama, I don't see Alabama losing their number 1 spot if it's a close game. And I think this might be a close game. You see what I'm getting at?
I do.
Because, let's face it, the polls love Alabama. If they lose this by a last-second field goal, or you remember the Iron Bowl where the guy ran it back 99 yards?
Mm-hmm.
If that something like that crazy happens, then they're not losing their 1 spot.
All right. Well, do you want to know who my number 4 team is? It's going to surprise you.
Oh, God. Is it Ohio State?
It is Ohio State.
Why?
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 I'll tell you why. You ready for it?
Yes.
Michigan State, Maryland, and Michigan are their final 3. Michigan is the toughest game on that 3. It's at home. I think they win their conference. If they win the rest of the year, if they win the last 4, I think they're in. Do you think that they'd be in if they won their last 4? Do you at least agree with that? Or do you think that they could win all the last 4 and not be in? They'd be in over Michigan for sure.
They beat Michigan, then I could see Ohio State making it. But, if Georgia doesn't get in, if my number 4 team is not Georgia, I'm going to go West Virginia.
Okay.
So that would be my little just in case type of thing.
You got Bama, Notre Dame, Michigan, Georgia. I have Bama, Clemson, Notre Dame, Ohio State. Okay. Cool. So let's move
Well,
on.
these are both very possible.
Absolutely. Very, very possible.
Like, I didn't say like, oh, UCF. All due respect to UCF.
So Bruce Arians says that if he came back to coaching, the only team that would be interesting to him would be the Cleveland Browns.
Which is interesting to me.
Do you think that'd be a good fit?
Yeah, well, Arians is a great coach, and I think this would definitely boost the Browns in any way, shape, or form. Any coach would do after Hugh Jackson. But I think Arians would be a huge addition. He's only missed a year, so he hasn't really lost anything.
I think he could be great for Baker Mayfield because he's a very good quarterbacks coach. So
he did take the Cardinals to the NFC title game at one point.
So Troy Aikman says that there needs to be an overhaul for the Dallas Cowboys for them to get back to Troy Aikman. He's a little bit critical. He's saying that nothing has changed. But what do you think about that? He said it kind of needs to start higher up than just the coaching and the personnel. So he kind of took a shot at Jerry Jones a little bit. I feel like at least he's making it clear that it's not just coaching, it's not just the players.
That definitely sounded like Jerry Jones needs to step down type of thing, as GM at least. That's what it sounded like. And I can understand why he says that. Just how many playoff appearances in the last 18 years since 2000?
Only a few.
Yeah, it's only a handful. And that's being generous, too. So what I'm saying to this is maybe he has a point, just based off how they've been doing and based off results. Maybe you want different results. And obviously Jerry Jones will not fire himself, so they got to just wait till he, I guess, croaks, and then they can look at a new GM.
The Giants are sticking with Eli, and they won't suspend Lauletta. Are you surprised that they're sticking with Eli?
Wait, they're not suspending Lauletta?
No.
After he got arrested?
Correct.
Wait, which one was the almost ran over a cop, and which one was almost was he the run over the cop?
Yes.
He almost committed a felony. He did commit a felony. It was a DUI, right? Oh, he missed the checkpoint. He refused to do the checkpoint. Something like that. Some stupid. And they're not suspending him for almost injuring or maybe even killing a cop.
Yeah. So
New
he
York.
eluded police.
Come on. You got to suspend him.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. How do you not suspend that? All right. Well, you had to pick between a felon and alleged felon and Eli Manning. So we're not in a hard place.
Yeah, we'll see what
Poison or a
happens.
gunshot wound, you choose.
I'd be surprised if Eli survives past this weekend. If they lose to the 49ers on Monday Night Football, maybe he doesn't get to start the following game, but it'll be yet to be seen. All right, so we're all done here. Please join us on Thursday. Thursday, we will preview Week 10, of course, but most importantly, Thursday Night Football. Do you know who's playing this week?
On Thursday night?
It's a big one.
After the not-so-big one.
I'd say it's the exact opposite, almost.
Ooh, exact opposite. That's
Almost.
a big one. Tell me what it is. I can't resist. I can't extend
Carolina at
this.
6-2 at Pittsburgh 5-2-1.
Yes, that is a very good game. I think this is a must-win game for both teams to stay in the playoff, in their playoff position.
Must win though. They both have 2 losses. I mean, they can afford to lose, right?
Well, I mean, this would just both still have a chance to win their division, and if they lose this might cost them their division spot.
Yeah, the Panthers are only a game behind the Saints, which is kind of weird to say.
That's why I'm saying, if they lose, if they're 2 games behind the Saints, I don't see them winning their division. So this is a must-win for a division spot.
For Panthers, yeah. Steelers are still in the driver's seat, but again, the Bengals are right on their heels. So yes, you're correct there that both teams are looking for a win to keep going forward and not move backwards. So we'll talk about that game on Thursday and other things regarding the world of football, college football, of course, and the NFL. So we'll see you there.
Bye.